The Fast and Furious series introduced us to many different kinds of cars, such as the Mazda RX-7, the Toyota Supra, the Nissan Skyline GTR, the Ford Mustang, the Nissan Fairlady Z. But then, there was one machine that everyone still remembers. It was big, it was black, it was menacing. It looked like a monster that came directly from the gravesite, and that was Vin Diesel's terrifying black 1970 Dodge Charger, the meanest muscle car of the Fast and Furious franchise. And this is the biology of how this vehicle became so terrifyingly unstoppable to ever leave the franchise as a whole. The Dodge Charger is known for its terrifying power. Underneath its hood lies its heart, the 426 Hemi V8 power plant. Boasting around 500 horsepower, this monster was a pure menace on the street. Back in its day in 1969, between 1967, this muscle car wasn't just fast, it was dangerous. How dangerous? Well, 9 seconds flat according to what Vin Diesel said. This machine was so powerful for its time that it was immediately removed from NASCAR because of its overpowered 426 Hemi V8 power plant. The vehicle itself is portrayed as a 1970 Dodge Charger, although this is likely false because if you look closely at that ending of the film, you can actually notice a little animation error. The vehicle itself is not really a 1970 Dodge Charger RT. It's actually a 1969 model that basically had the split grille cover removed, and it was dressed up to look exactly like a 1970 Dodge Charger, and it was pretty much expensive at the time to actually buy a 1970 Charger for the movie. But there was something else that many people got wrong. When people first watched the 2001 Fast and Furious movie, they immediately hear Vin Diesel say 900 horsepower, 0 to 60 on the drag strip at 9 seconds flat. This is actually false because a 426 Hemi with stock performance, even though it was modified, only has 500 horsepower, and Vin Diesel might have coincidentally said it wrong. It's not 900 horsepower. It never was. The Dodge Charger RT is known for its terrifying presence and power. Not because it was built fast, not because it was built to look intimidating. It looks sinister. That color black of the vehicle just makes it even more terrifying, with a massive blower sticking out of its hood. But then there's this other detail you have missed completely. The massive blower that sticks onto the hood of Dom's car was not real. Nope. That massive engine blower that sticks out of the hood was actually false. It was just a fake blower bolted onto the hood of the car with the engine removed. And how did they do it? Well, it's simple. They removed the entire engine and just stick the blower onto the hood with straps and brackets. That's about it. The blower didn't actually move from its place. It just had electrical devices planted underneath the hood to make the blower seem more animated. And by the way, there's no physical proof that the blower was actually real or really functioning in the movie. The crazy etymology of the Dodge Charger in the Fast and Furious is basically the most wildest thing of the series. Known for its mighty 426 Hemi V8, although it wasn't really powerful in the movie, but it was powerful because its history began in 1969 as the Dodge Charger Daytona, a specialized modification for the 1969 model, until it was removed in 1970 and late 1969. So that could mean one thing. The Dodge Charger Daytona was stripped out of its parts and into a factory Dodge Charger instead, with a fake blower sticking out of the hood. Here's another strange detail that nobody remembers. Every time Dom crashes or damages the Charger, it always comes back unharmed. And how did they do that? Well, it's simple. The Fast and Furious franchise never explains cool facts or logic. They just make things feel like nothing really happened. And guess what? The carnage that the Dodge Charger took was basically uncredited, and the story of the Dodge Charger suddenly reappearing completely unharmed was basically Fast and Furious doing the alternate methods of reshaping the reality behind every single screen every time you hear that Dodge Charger rev up. Here's another coincidence that basically makes no sense. The Dodge Charger of the Fast and Furious can depend on which variant it had. The first Charger had the silver face stripe, and in the 7th and 5th movie, we don't see it with the face stripe. And then at the ending of Fast and Furious 7, we can actually see it in a metallic gray color without the blower. Then in the 8th movie, it appears as a snow mudless Dodge Charger. Then in Fast and Furious 7, during the plane drop scene, the Dodge Charger appears with off-road rally parts. And what am I about to say to you this is that no matter how many scenes that were depicted in the movie, the Dodge Charger was almost seen with different kinds of modifications and different design elements. What is so strange about this car is that no one really knew exactly why, and it just makes the car feel a lot more stranger. Although the vehicle itself is not really 900 horsepower in real life, but it basically is purely NASCAR feeling. That legendary appearance of the first Fast and Furious film revealing the vehicle, and guess what we found out? We actually found out in the first movie that Vin Diesel said that his father and him used to work on the vehicle, and when the vehicle was shown in the first film, it basically looked like that as it was now. Black paint and a massive blower. But then you realize something else. Is that Charger supposed to be alive or something? Well, in a literal Fast and Furious sense, yes, the vehicle is alive because when you see it all torn up and beaten, battered and bruised, and all banged up, the next movies show it completely fine. What this Dodge Charger is about to reveal is far more stranger than you might think. This car could actually be regenerating itself off the screen and every off-screen appearance it has shown. But then when it shows up on the screen, that's when you realize one thing. The dents, scrapes, broken glass, flat tire, leaking engine, smoking coolant, they were all gone. And in fact, the Charger remains exactly the same. Black with the same blower sticking out of its hood. But then, most people get confused by this. Is this really the same car that really did get destroyed so many times? Well, yes, it is. No matter how many times the Charger has appeared in the films, it just keeps showing up. Except, there were two facts that did made the Charger seem more appropriate. One is that it didn't appear with Fast and Furious 2 and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So that means only two movies shown the Dodge Charger to not actually follow the second and third parts of the movie, but then the rest just shows it. What I'm about to say is that this Charger is crazy enough to do one psychological fact that no one else explains. It doesn't defy reality or graphics. Yes, I'm telling you this. Dom's Charger is far more weirder than you might think. Every time the dents keep showing up, every single scratch, every simple fix becomes impossible to explain. The Dodge Charger can fix itself. It can reappear and disappear at will. And what that Dodge Charger actually is something far more complex than any other Fast and Furious plot has ever driven it to the max. Dom's Dodge Charger is basically the craziest car ever filmed in the franchise. From it being shown, from it being destroyed, from it being shown up completely unharmed and damaged, the vehicle itself doesn't know how to explain itself. It just acts like it never even happened. It never suffered the consequences of being destroyed. And then the whole franchise just continues on with it being completely fine until the next few shots it gets destroyed yet again. No matter how many times the Charger has appeared in the franchise, it basically gives you one simple clue. The Dodge Charger RT never actually died. Although some of the Fast and Furious cast members did drove cars that actually got blown up, got torn, abused, and later trashed, never seen again, the Dodge Charger was the only survivor of the franchise. And what it actually is now is just plainly unnecessarily serious. The Dodge Charger doesn't defy physics or reality. It doesn't obey traffic rules at all. It just being what it is, being reckless. And when it gets reckless, it gets destroyed over and over again. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you go comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.